Croatia, a land of islands, coastlines, and centuries of history. But where does the name Croatia actually come from? It's a question that takes us on an incredible journey back through time. When we think of Croatia, we often picture its stunning Adriatic coast, with over 1,000 islands shimmering in the turquoise water. We imagine ancient Roman ruins standing beside bustling medieval towns, and sunny days spent wandering through olive groves and vineyards. This beautiful country, located at the crossroads of Central and Southeast Europe, has long been a meeting point of different cultures, empires, and ideas. Its unique position has shaped its identity, making it a fascinating blend of Mediterranean warmth and Slavic spirit. This country's influence extends far beyond its borders. Throughout history, its sailors have navigated the world's oceans, and its thinkers and artists have contributed to the rich tapestry of European culture. From the invention of the necktie, or cravat, which was inspired by Croatian mercenaries in the 17th century, to the pioneering work of inventor Nikola Tesla, who was born in a village in modern-day Croatia, this nation has left its mark. Its cities, like Dubrovnik and Split, are not just tourist destinations. They are living museums, recognized by UNESCO for their historical importance. They tell stories of trade, conflict, and resilience, acting as gatekeepers between East and West for centuries. But the story of Croatia begins long before these grand cities were built. It starts with a name in the local language. This name is deeply connected to the people who first settled here and called this land their home. To understand its origin, we must peel back the layers of history, going back to a time of great migrations across Europe. It's a story filled with ancient tribes, epic journeys, and scholarly debates. The name isn't just a label on a map, it's a thread that connects modern Croatians to their distant ancestors, and the very moment their nation began to take shape. It's a name that carries the weight of survival and the pride of a people. So, how did a tribe known as the give their name to this magnificent country? The answer is not as simple as you might think. Historians have debated this question for decades, piecing together clues from ancient texts, archaeological finds, and linguistic patterns. It's a historical detective story that involves fierce warriors from the distant steppes, Slavic farmers moving into new lands, and the powerful influence of the Roman Empire. Join me as we explore the fascinating origins of the name Croatia and uncover the ancient tribe that shaped a nation's identity, a story that is as captivating as the country's breathtaking landscapes. Long before the name Croatia was ever spoken, this land was home to many different peoples. The earliest known inhabitants were ancient tribes, often referred to as Illyrians. These were not a single, unified group, but rather a collection of tribes who shared a similar language and culture. They settled along the Adriatic coast and inland regions more than 3,000 years ago. They were skilled warriors and sailors, known for their fast ships called, which were later adopted by the Romans. These Illyrian tribes, like the Dalmatia, Histri, and Liburni, left their mark on the land, and their names can still be found in regions like Dalmatia and Istria. Around the 4th century BC, a new culture arrived on the Adriatic shores, the Greeks. Seeking new places to trade and settle, Greek explorers established colonies on the islands of Vis, Var, and Korčula. They brought with them their knowledge of winemaking, olive cultivation, and philosophy, creating vibrant hubs of Hellenic culture. You can still see the evidence of their presence today in the carefully planned fields on Hvar and the ancient ruins on Vis. The Greeks lived alongside the Illyrians, sometimes trading peacefully, other times clashing over land and resources. Their arrival marked the beginning of this region's long history as a cultural crossroads. The next great power to arrive were the Romans. Starting in the 3rd century BC, Rome began its expansion into the region, drawn by the strategic importance of the Adriatic Sea. It took them nearly 2 centuries of difficult wars to finally conquer the fierce Illyrian tribes. Once under Roman control, the area was organized into provinces, most notably Dalmatia and Pannonia. The Romans built roads, aqueducts, amphitheaters, and entire cities. The most spectacular example is Diocletian's palace in Split, a massive and incredibly well-preserved structure built for the Roman Emperor Diocletian at the turn of the 4th century AD. This was a time of relative peace and prosperity when Latin became the language of administration. However, the mighty Roman Empire eventually began to weaken. By the 5th and 6th centuries AD, waves of migrations, often called the barbarian invasions, swept across Europe. Various groups, including the Goths and the Avars, moved through the region, causing instability and chaos. The Roman cities along the coast held on for a time, but the old order was crumbling. It was during this turbulent period of transition, as the Western Roman Empire fell and new powers rose, that a new group of people began to arrive from the north, the Slavs. Their arrival would forever change the destiny of this land and plant the seed of a new nation. Sometime during the 6th and 7th centuries, Slavic tribes migrated from their original homeland, which is thought to be in the area of modern-day Poland, Ukraine, and Belarus. They moved south, settling across the Balkans. Among these tribes was a group known as the Hrvat, or Croats, according to the historical work written by the Byzantine Emperor Constantine VII in the 10th century. The Croats were invited by the Byzantine Emperor Heraclius to help drive out the Avars, a nomadic people who were causing trouble in the region. After defeating the Avars, the Croats were granted permission to settle in the Roman province of Dalmatia. The origin of the name itself is one of history's great puzzles, and scholars have proposed several compelling theories. The first and perhaps most widely discussed is the Iranian or Sarmatian theory. This theory suggests that the original Croats were not a Slavic tribe at all, but an Iranic-speaking warrior tribe from the Sarmatian steppes, located north of the Black Sea. In this region, stone inscriptions from the 2nd and 3rd centuries AD have been found bearing the name. The theory goes that this elite warrior group conquered and organized the Slavic tribes, eventually merging with them and passing on their name, but adopting the Slavic language and culture. Another prominent theory suggests a purely Slavic origin for the name. In this view, the word comes from an ancient Slavic word. Some linguists connect it to the Proto-Slavic word, meaning to live on a mountain ridge or mountain dweller, which would describe the people who settled in the Dinaric Alps. Another Slavic explanation links it to the word, meaning mountain range. This would make the name a geographical descriptor, identifying the Croats as the people from the mountains. This theory emphasizes that the Croats were always a Slavic people, and their name simply reflected the new landscape they called home. Regardless of its exact linguistic roots, the name quickly became associated with the Slavic people who settled along the Adriatic coast. These tribes, led by their chieftains, began to establish small duchies and principalities. They gradually spread their influence from the inland regions of Pannonia down the length of the Dalmatian coast, absorbing or displacing the remaining Latin-speaking communities in the old Roman cities. The name was no longer just the name of a single tribe. It was becoming the identity of a new people, forging their future in a land rich with the remnants of ancient empires. Section 4. From Tribe to Kingdom. The rise of medieval Croatia. After settling in their new homeland, the Croats didn't immediately form a single unified state. For about 2 centuries, they were organized into 2 main duchies: Pannonian Croatia in the north and littoral or Dalmatian Croatia along the coast. These duchies were often influenced by their powerful neighbors, the Frankish Empire to the west and the Byzantine Empire to the east. The Croatian rulers, known as, or dukes, skillfully navigated the complex politics of the time, sometimes paying tribute to one empire, sometimes to another, all while working to consolidate their power and expand their territory. This was a crucial period of state building and Christianization, The name began to appear more frequently in historical records during this time. One of the earliest mentions is on the Branimir inscription, dated to the year 879. Duke Branimir, a ruler of Dalmatian Croatia, was recognized by Pope John VIII as a legitimate Christian ruler, and his land was referred to as the realm of the Croats. This was a major step toward international recognition. The name of the Croats was now firmly linked to a specific territory along the Adriatic. The various Slavic tribes in the region were slowly but surely beginning to unite under a common Croatian identity, centered around their leaders and their shared Christian faith. The dream of a unified kingdom became a reality in the 10th century. In the year 925, Duke Tomislav, a powerful and ambitious ruler, united the Pannonian and Dalmatian duchies. He was crowned king, likely with the blessing of the Pope, becoming the first king of the Kingdom of Croatia. Under Tomislav, the kingdom became a significant military power in the region, with a strong army and navy that controlled much of the Adriatic Sea. The kingdom stretched from the Drava River in the north to the Adriatic in the south, and the name Croatia now referred to a powerful, independent medieval state. The establishment of the Kingdom of Croatia was a defining moment. It solidified the Croatian identity and gave the name Croatia a permanent place on the map of Europe. The kingdom thrived for nearly 2 centuries as an independent state, ruled by a succession of native kings from the Trpimirović dynasty. This period is often remembered as a golden age, a time when Croatian culture, language, and political identity flourished. The name was no longer just the name of a migratory tribe. It was the name of a proud and sovereign people with their own king and kingdom. Section 5. Croatia in Latin, a name recognized by the West. As the medieval kingdom of Croatia grew in power and influence, its name began to spread beyond its borders. In the world of medieval European politics and religion, the language of diplomacy and official records was Latin. The Roman Church, based in Vatican City, played a central role in this world. When the Croatian rulers converted to Christianity and aligned themselves with Rome, rather than Constantinople, they entered the sphere of Western Christendom. As a result, their land and people needed a name that could be easily written and understood in Latin. The native name was adapted into the Latin form. This Latinization was incredibly important for the young kingdom. When Pope John VIII recognized Duke Branimir in 879, he referred to him as, or Duke of the Croats. Later, with the coronation of King Tomislav, the kingdom was officially known in papal and other European courts as the Amtkajkes, the Kingdom of Croatia. This official recognition in Latin gave the nation legitimacy. It meant that Croatia was seen as a proper kingdom, equal to other Christian kingdoms in Europe. The name started appearing on maps, in chronicles, and in diplomatic letters sent across the continent, solidifying its place in the European consciousness. The influence of the Roman Church was also instrumental in spreading the name. The Church established dioceses and sent missionaries throughout the Croatian lands. These churchmen used Latin in their writings and administration, consistently referring to the region as and its people as. This standardized the name across Western Europe. While the people themselves continued to call their land and speak their own Slavic language, in the wider world, they were known by the Latin version of their name. This dual naming is common for many nations, but for Croatia, it symbolized its connection to both its Slavic roots and its Western European orientation. This adoption into Latin ensured that the name would survive and be recognized for centuries to come. It was etched into the political and cultural landscape of medieval Europe. Kings from England, France, and the Holy Roman Empire would have known of This international identity was crucial, as it meant that even when Croatia's political situation changed and it lost its complete independence, the concept of a distinct land called Croatia with its own people and history was never forgotten by the rest of Europe. The name had been formally entered into the history books, and it was there to stay. Section 6, a name that endured through empires and unions. The era of a fully independent Croatian kingdom came to an end around the year 1102. After a succession crisis, the Croatian nobility entered into a personal union with the Kingdom of Hungary, known as the UK. This meant that the King of Hungary would also be the King of Croatia, but Croatia would retain its own institutions, its own governor, called a Yi, and its own distinct territory. Crucially, it kept its name. Throughout this long union with Hungary, which lasted for over 400 years, the kingdom was officially known as the Kingdom of Croatia and Dalmatia, preserving its identity even while being part of a larger state. This ability to maintain its name was a powerful symbol of Croatia's enduring sense of selfhood. Even under Hungarian and later Habsburg rule, the idea of a separate Croatian kingdom never disappeared. The Croatian parliament continued to operate, and the Croatian nobility fiercely defended their traditional rights and the legal distinctness of their realm. The name Croatia was not just a historical memory, it was a political reality. It represented a legal entity with its own laws and borders, a fact that prevented it from being completely absorbed into the larger and more powerful Kingdom of Hungary. In the 16th century, the political landscape shifted dramatically with the rise of the Ottoman Empire, which conquered large parts of Croatia. The remaining territory sought protection by becoming part of the Austrian Habsburg monarchy. Later, this evolved into the vast Austro-Hungarian Empire. Throughout these centuries of foreign rule, the name Croatia continued to be used officially for the Croatian lands within the empire. Despite pressures to Germanize or Magyarize, Hungarianize the population, the Croatian name and language survived, acting as a rallying point for cultural and political resistance. The name was a constant reminder of a time of sovereignty. This persistence was vital. When nationalist movements swept across Europe in the 19th century, the Croatians had a clear historical and legal basis for their claims to greater autonomy and eventually independence. The name Croatia and the unbroken history gave their national revival movement immense strength and legitimacy. It was not a new nation being invented. It was an old nation demanding the restoration of its rights. The name had been carefully preserved through centuries of unions and empires, ready to be reclaimed by a people who had never forgotten who they were. Section 7, Croatia Reborn. The meaning of a name. Today, the 20th century was a turbulent time for Croatia. After the collapse of the Austro-Hungarian Empire following World War I, Croatia became part of a new state, the Kingdom of Serbs, Croats and Slovenes, which was later renamed Yugoslavia. For much of the century, the distinct identity of Croatia was suppressed within this larger, multi-ethnic federation. However, the name and the dream of independence never faded. The desire to have a country that was once again just Croatia remained a powerful force, simmering beneath the surface of Yugoslav politics for decades, waiting for the right moment to re-emerge. That moment came in the late 1980s and early 1990s. As communism collapsed across Eastern Europe, Croatia, along with other Yugoslav republics, moved towards sovereignty. In 1991, Croatia declared its independence, a decision that led to a difficult and painful war. But when the conflict ended, the Republic of Croatia took its place on the world stage as a free and independent nation for the first time in nearly 900 years. The revival of the name was not just a political change, it was a moment of immense national pride and emotional release. The ancient name, carried through centuries of foreign rule, was finally home. Today, the name Croatia means more to its people than just a geographical location. It is a symbol of survival, resilience, and the enduring power of identity. It represents a long and often difficult history, from the first Slavic tribes who settled on the Adriatic coast to the medieval kings who forged a kingdom and the generations who preserved their language and culture under foreign empires. For many Croatians, the name evokes a deep sense of connection to their land. The sparkling sea, the rugged mountains, and the historic stone cities. It represents a culture that is both proudly Slavic and Mediterranean. When Croatians introduce themselves and say they are sharing a story that is over 1,000 years old. It is a story of a name that began as a mysterious tribal marker, was forged into a kingdom, was preserved in Latin chronicles and legal charters, and was reborn in the modern era. It's a name that connects them to their ancestors and gives them hope for the future. The journey of the name Croatia is, in many ways, the journey of the Croatian people themselves, a testament to their unwavering spirit and their deep love for the land they call home. If you learned something new about Croatia's name, don't forget to like, subscribe, and tell us which country's story you want next. Which country's name should we uncover next? Drop your suggestion below.